Hi there, a very good morning to all our viewers who've tuned in live to this broadcast here on Moneycontrol. The show is called Newspresso with me, Stacey Pereira. And as the drill goes, in the next few minutes, we're going to be giving you a lowdown of all the top stories from across the globe, how markets are really going to be weighing in on that very important, crucial decision from the RBI, how much of that is going to really convert and whether markets are going to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. We're going to have to wait and see. But we're definitely also going to get you up to speed with all the corporate action that are taking place, all the M&A deals that we're getting to hear of, and of course, all that is trending and doing the buzz on social media. We have you covered. So just stay with us for the next few minutes as we get you all those stories. But first up, let's get you straight to our global dispatch. Well, if you look at Wall Street, it was quite a muted session there, with all three major averages seeing some minor declines. The 30-stock Dow Jones was lower by about just 10 points, or 0.03%. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite both declining by 0.1% each. Now, traders are also shifting focus now towards the job data that is due later today. The unemployment rate is expected to have fallen to about 3.7%, lower than the 3.8% levels in the previous reading. Now, in somewhat a softer jobs report will now then break that fever that we're seeing in bond yields, which have risen sharply and pretty much weighed in on equities. For the week, if you look at the averages there, Dow Jones is down by about 1.16%. The S&P 500 is on pace to its fifth consecutive losing week, whereas the Nasdaq is rather flat this week. Let's also look at Europe then, where after that 3 sessions in the red, we are seeing European markets that saw some respite yesterday and closed on a little higher note. The Stock 600 index closed up by just about 0.3%, and it was the travel-led stocks that were up and about by about 1.5%. Oil and gas stocks were the ones that saw a slightly dipper. Now, in other stock-specific action in the euro area, we saw a French train manufacturer, Alstom, which plunged almost 37% after warning about its free cash flows, whereas London-listed Metro Bank also dropped more than 25% after it reported that it was trying to raise somewhere close to 600 million euros or close to $727 million. This in debt as well as equity. So that stock really not taking it too well. Metro Bank down there. Whereas if you look at a jewelry maker and retailer Pandora, that stock gained rather by about 12% after hiking its own growth targets for the future. So that one getting a thumbs up from the street in the Euro region. Let's also look at Asia now this morning, where ahead of that jobs data in the US, we're looking at Asian indices all trading quite in the positive, we could say, or a positive bias, at least for now. The data set that we are looking forward to is that jobs data, which will then set the tone for the Federal Reserve on its next move on its interest rates. Now, Hong Kong's Hang Seng is the one that is really leading the gains in the Asian Pacific region, jumping by about 1.35% in the first hour of trade itself. Whereas if you look at Japan's Nikkei 225, that one is rather flat this morning, whereas Australia's S&P ASX 200 is trading close to 0.3% higher, and so is South Korea's Kospi, which is up by almost 0.5% in early trade. If you look at the Gift Nifty too, that one is indicating a mildly higher start for the Indian equities. And let's put the spotlight on crude oil prices. That too has further fallen by about 2% on Thursday, extending those previous sessions' losses, now nearly almost 6% down, as worries about fuel demand have outweighed the OPEC Plus's decision to maintain oil output cuts, also keeping supply quite tight. Now, global benchmark Brent crude futures have declined almost by $10 a barrel in just the last 10 days, after edging close to that $100 a barrel in late September. Now, the combined percentage drop over in the last 2 days alone has been the steepest it has seen since May for both the crude benchmarks that we track, that is Brent crude as well as WTI. If you look at Brent crude futures just overnight, it has settled down by about $1.74 or close to 2%. Further losses is what we are seeing, which is currently taking that Brent crude oil price to about $84.04 per barrel. So it remains to be seen whether it will go further down from there or we get some bit of consolidation or some bit of relief that we're seeing. Obviously, for a big importer like India, lower prices or crude oil prices is definitely a benefit for us. Well, that will also have a bearing on how our agencies really work and give some relief to the RBI as well. Well, let's also move on and tell you some corporate action across the globe, where we saw US tech giants like Amazon as well as Microsoft, who are now facing an antitrust investigation, this happening in Europe. Now, British media regulator Ofcom has asked the antitrust organization to investigate the dominance of Amazon as well as Microsoft in the UK cloud market. Now, Ofcom says that its studies have found features that have made it harder for UK businesses to use multiple cloud suppliers. Earlier this year in April, it said that it was worried about the practices of Amazon Web Services as well as Microsoft because of their market position. Ofcom added that the companies had up to 80% combined market share of the UK public's cloud infrastructure services as of last year. Now, this investigation hopefully will be led by market authorities or the CMA, and the investigation is expected to conclude by 2025. So we'll remain to be seen what really comes off this investigation, but not such good news for both Amazon as well as Microsoft, because they are being pulled up by another antitrust organization. Well, let's move on then to some global weather updates, wherein we are seeing Typhoon Coinu. Now, this has made a landfall in Taiwan's Hangzhou Peninsula yesterday, and the typhoon indicated winds of up to 156 miles per hour. Now, signboards, debris, all of that could be seen strewn across the main tourist streets leading to Taiwan's Kenting Beach. And the typhoon, in fact, occurred in accidents that have caused more deaths as well as more than 300 people injured so far. Those are the reports that are coming out of there. About 330,000 households in the region have experienced power outages so far, and about 69,000 have not yet had their power supply resume. Now, the typhoon, however, is expected to weaken when it crosses the Taiwan Strait and heads towards the Chinese province of Guangdong. And let's look at a recap of what markets here in India did. Well, we did see positive global cues that really lifted sentiment on the Lal Street, and we saw that Nifty as well as the Sensex ending with gains of close to 0.5 percentage point, rebounding smartly, one could say, after those couple of days of correction that we've been witnessing. Nifty climbing back above that 19,500 levels, whereas it was the mid-cap this time around which was the underperformer to end mildly lower, while Nifty banks were the ones that were rising in line with the blue chips. Now, the positive signals really came in from the PMI data that we saw, and also the fall in oil prices, which seems to have boosted sentiment. While in terms of sectors, banking, financial services, technology stocks were the ones that really supported the markets. We also had stocks like L&T, ICICI Bank, Infosys, who were the ones that really pushed the headline indices, whereas Reliance, on the other hand, was the major drag in yesterday's session. But let's also look at the stocks that you need to be watching out for today in trade. Well, keep your eye out for Tata Motors, as it's posted some Q2 updates, especially its JLR business. The wholesale numbers are coming in, and the volumes definitely it's suggesting that there will be some kind of pickup. Look at Sun Pharma on the back of it acquiring a 37% stake in Exert Health Tech for about 29 crore rupees. That also is some data that came in yesterday. And also you can look at BHEL and KPI Green, which on the back of some order wins, that is going to see some positive reaction, whereas Lupin 2 has got a tentative approval from the US FDA, so that can also see some positive reactions. In the primary market, you can look out for Valiant Laboratories, which will be making its D Street debut today at a price range of 140 rupees per share. And speaking of markets, there is a buzz that there is a block deal brewing somewhere, and this we are picking up this time around is from Japanese tech giant SoftBank, which is planning to offload an additional 2.5% stake in PB Fintech. Remember, this is the parent company of a leading online insurance platform, Policy Bazaar. And this, we understand, could happen via a block deal route. Now, the offer price range is from 752 to 776 per share, is what sources are telling Moneycontrol, and it could represent a 0 to 2% discount according to the previous closing, which happened at 767 per share. Now, if considering the top end of the range, the deal size is likely to be around $105 million or close to 876 crore rupees. And remember, it's the SoftBank entity which actually currently holds about 4.39% stake in PB Fintech. And post this fresh block deal, that holding will then come down to just about 1.85%. And if you're looking at the stock price of PB Fintech, that has risen nearly 28% in the last 6 months. So maybe it was a perfect time that SoftBank sought to exit PB Fintech. It has been regularly cutting down its stake, so this block deal perhaps another move to do so. We are likely to see that happen in trade today. Well, to the other big policy action that we are tracking, and that, of course, is the Reserve Bank of India, which will be announcing its monetary policy decision today. Now, most of the respondents of a CNBC TV18 poll have voted that it will rather be a status quo policy. However, the market would be keeping an eye out for the commentary on the inflation forecast by the central bank. Our focus will also be on how RBI wants to deal with the whole liquidity situation, given the fact that liquidity in the banking system will now turn positive after that full reversal that we're going to see in the incremental cash reserve ratio or ICRR funds. Experts are also saying that the Reserve Bank will retain that benchmark rate to 6.5% in the view of that elevated inflation that we are seeing, as well as the other global factors that are playing, the US bond yields also being one of them. And remember, RBI has kept the rates unchanged in the last 3 successive bi-monthly monetary policy reviews as well, because inflation has still been above that target band of 2 to 6%, which is that target mark. It has come in the previous 2 sessions. We've seen a 6.8 and also 7%. So it really needs to adjust for that. So what we could expect in today's policy is maybe a revision in the overall inflation targets that the RBI wants to put out. Perhaps nothing much coming in terms of the repo rate change that one could expect. Well, let's move on and tell you some corporate action here home, where we're seeing that the Tata Group is now in talks with Temasek to buy back its 20% stake, and this in the entertainment platform Tata Play. And this would then put the valuation of the company at more than $1 billion. Now, all of this is news that is coming in from a Bloomberg report, which suggested that the deal is in the final stages and that Tata Group is looking to solidify its position in the platform and is considering this buyback or the stake, which will help its flagship private equity fund, which is also held by Tata Opportunities Fund. Now, remember, Tata Play, which was formerly called Tata Sky, provides a pay television via set-top boxes and also over-the-top video streaming through its app. And according to the conglomerate's website, it has a pan-India footprint of about 23 million. So what Tata Group is really looking is to consolidate its space, given the rise that we're seeing in OTT platforms, and otherwise it also wants to make it mark there. And because it does have some bit of stake already in Tata Play, it's probably just looking to position itself better. Well, let's move on then and tell you the latest on Deal Street, wherein fantasy sports major, that is Dream 11, has now gone on to acquire Delhi-based fantasy cricket stock startup called Sixer. Now, a person familiar with the matter has gone on to tell Moneycontrol that Dream 11 has backed the startup in order to help them scale their offerings. Now, Sixer's website has already been updated to reflect that Dream 11, the parent of Dream Sport, owns and operates Sixer's website as well as the mobile app. Sixer, remember, is a fantasy cricket game where prominent cricket players are presented as virtual stocks, and people can buy and sell these cricketers in terms of their stocks. Remember, this game was founded back in 2018. It is interesting to note that all of this is happening, especially this acquisition is coming at a time when the government has imposed the top GST slab of about 28% on the full face value of player deposits, irrespective of whether it is a game of skill or game of chance. And all of this starting from October 1 is when this GST slab, the GST rate is implied on these online games. In fact, Dream 11 also has been sent the tax authorities' radar, and sources say that their overall GST demand against Dream Sports could go up as much as 40,000 crore rupees or even higher. In fact, Dream Sports has now gone on to file a writ petition in the Bombay High Court challenging the show cause notice. So amidst all of this legal drama, we are seeing that it's not stopping them from their M&A activity, because this is a budding area that they really see they would like to be placing their bets on, and which is why they've gone on to acquire Sixer, Dream 11 that is. Well, let's move on to the biggest cricket event. Yes, I'm talking about the World Cup, which kicked off yesterday, and the 2023 ICC ODI World Cup is the one that you need to be looking forward to. Now, we did think there would be a grand opening with hundreds of fans cheering, but unexpectedly, it was a very silent and empty affair, if I have to say so. Now, it was an England versus New Zealand match, which was met by these empty stands, one could say, at that Motera Stadium. Now, a lot of fans took to Twitter and social media to express their sadness over the issue, and also went on to put these posts. Now, one of them wrote that sorting the schedule as well as selling the tickets 5 minutes before the computer has really worked out for them, because what they actually got to see were just these empty stands. One also called out BCCI for their poor management and went on to write that sad to see empty stadiums in opening game of a sport which is really loved to be played as well as watched due to the mismanagement of seats. There are so many vacant. People, however, are expecting more crowds at the India matches, and which is why, talking about the game, well, yesterday it was the New Zealand match where we saw New Zealand went on to win the match by about 9 wickets. The team achieved the target of 283 runs, which was done in just about 36 overs of the match, and which is where we saw New Zealand win over England. And we're really hoping that those stands fill up, not just for India matches, but because it is an opportunity for so many brands and so many industries to actually gain from the ICC, and India being the sole host of it. So seeing those empty stands were definitely something that has dampened your Friday. Well, we do hope that this next story will make that Friday mood come back. Well, this is a story of a young spirited woman who will definitely cheer you up. Now, the woman I'm talking about is a 104-year-old lady in the United States, but she has an enthusiasm of a 20-year-old, I would say. Now, I say this because in moments now you will see her going ahead and achieving something that maybe some 20-year-olds might also be afraid to do. She's gone on to skydive. Yes, this 104-year-old woman has made a record-breaking attempt. Her name is Dorothy Hoffner, and she jumped out of a plane and became one of the oldest women to go on to skydive. She could be seen ditching her walker, hopping onto the plane, and also taking that leap of faith to go on to skydive. Now, it was a Skydive Chicago that shared this video on their Instagram page, and in the post they went on to write, Dorothy reminded all of us this past Sunday that the age is just a number and that beauty of life is just a jump away. Well, I do hope that Dorothy's story has added your Friday cheer and motivates you to get out of bed and to do an adventure-filled weekend perhaps. But before we let you go have that adventure-filled weekend, let me tell you what we need to be looking out for forward in today's day. Well, among the court-related stories or court-related headlines that could be, you could see ED, which has now gone on to summon Bollywood actors like Ranbir Kapoor, Shraddha Kapoor, as well as several others. Those summons were for them to appear before ED today in this Mahadev betting app case. So we are going to see perhaps a beeline of 3 or 4 of those actors who've been summoned by ED to make their presence in this whole case. So we are likely to see that. Whether Ranbir Kapoor actually goes there and his question is a matter of time now. But we also have the Nobel Peace Prize, which will be announced today. We have seen a slew of the Nobel announcements that have been coming all through the week. But the Peace Prize is something that is always looked forward to. And this will take place at 2:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We're going to have the Nobel Peace announced, as well as in sporting action and all that we've seen in the Asian Games. Well, India's men's hockey team will be playing for the gold medal this time, and they'll be playing against Japan at 4 p.m. today. So we'd like to wish our other men in blue also, so that they win that gold, all the best from the Moneycontrol team. Well, with that, it's a wrap, and we hope this dose of Newspresso was useful, informative, and gives you that kickstart to your day. Yes, it's a Friday. There's a lot to be looking forward to for the weekend. But don't forget to come back here Monday morning, same place, same time, for your fresh shot of Newspresso. From all of us who put this show together, thanks so much for tuning in.